Hey class, you are welcome to our chemistry online class for this week. Today we'll be discussing salts. Our objective for this class is as follows. At the end of this class, I expect you to be able to describe a salt, differentiate between the different types of salts which exist, describe the different method of salt production, and also you should be able to discuss the various ways salt can be useful to a human. What is salt? A salt is a compound formed when all or part of the ionizable hydrogen ion in an acid is replaced by a metallic or ammonium ion. Thus, a salt is formed during an acid-base reaction in which parts or all the replaceable hydrogen ion in an acid is replaced by a positive metallic or ammonium ion. If you recall, one of the properties of acid, which is also a property of a base, we said that acid reacts with a base to form salt and water. Now, the types of salts formed during this reaction depend on how much of the ionizable hydrogen ion is being replaced by a positive metallic ion. How much of the hydrogen ion in the acid is being replaced by a positive metal. Now, this will bring us to talk about types of salts. Now, unlike what we know, the sodium chloride, which is very common to every home, which is an edible salt, we have different types of salts that exist in nature. So under this topic, we'll be looking at those different types of salts. One, normal salts. Normal salts are those salts which are formed when all the replaceable hydrogen ion of an acid have been completely replaced by a metallic ion. Therefore, they are neutral to litmus paper. Although certain neutral salts, such as the salt of sodium tricarbonate 4, aluminum chloride, and ammonium sulfate, when they dissolve in water, they undergo the process called hydrolysis, and as a result of that, their solution in water tends to either behave like an acid or an alkali. But generally, neutral salts are those salts which all the replaceable hydrogen ion of the acid has been completely replaced by a metallic ion. Thus, when they dissolve in water, they show a neutral effect to a litmus paper. That is to say, they neither turn a litmus paper red or blue. They don't behave like an acid, neither do they behave like a base. Number two types of salts, which we are going to talk about, is the acidic salt. Acidic salts are formed when the replaceable hydrogen ion in an acid are partially replaced by a metal. That is, the number of ionizable hydrogen ion of the acid is not totally or completely replaced by a metal. You still have part of the ionizable hydrogen ion being part of that salt. So thus, when such a salt dissolves in water, they show the property of an acid by turning a blue litmus paper red. Example of such acid is sodium hydrogen tetrasulfate 6. When it dissolves in water, it behaves like an acid. Take note, acidic salts are formed by acid which has more than one hydrogen ion in its molecule. Acidic salts are formed by acid which have more than one hydrogen ion in its molecule. So that means that hydrochloric acid cannot react with a base to give you an acidic salt because it is monoacidic in nature. So therefore, acidic salts are formed by dibasic acid, tribasic acid, tetrabasic acid, and so on and so forth. Number three type of salt we should be discussing is the basic salts. They are salts which contain an hydroxide ion in the molecule of the salts. Thus, when they dissolve in water, they tend to ionize to give an hydroxide ion. This made the solution of such a salt behave like a base. Example is the zinc hydroxide chloride. Zinc hydroxide chloride. When it dissolves in water, it will hydrolyze to give you an hydroxide ion. So that means that basic salts behave like a base. The number 4 type of salt we'll be talking about is the double salt. The double salts are formed by the precipitation of two different salts in a solution simultaneously at the same time. This causes them to react together to give you more than one salt. So therefore, we said that double salt are those salts which ionize in water to produce more than 3 different types of ion in solution, of which 2 of these 3 ions are positive ion, while the third one is a negative ion. Example is aluminium potassium tetraoxosulfate 6 dodecanohydrate, that is having 12 molecules of water. Another example is your ammonium ion 2 tetraoxosulfate 6 hexahydrate, which is having 6 molecules of water. I repeat again, they are formed when you have more than 2 salts crystallizing out of a solution simultaneously at the same time. This tends to make those 2 salts to combine together to give you a double salt. The last type of salt which we'll be discussing is the complex salt. A complex salt is a salt which contains a complex ion or a complex neutral molecule in which there is a central metal ion surrounded by a number of neutral molecules or negative ion. A good example is the tetraamine copper 2 ion. Tetraamine copper 2 ion, which is having copper as the central ion surrounded by 4 molecules of ammonia. Another example of a complex salt is potassium hexacyanophrate 2. Potassium hexacyanophrate 2. Generally, we have 5 types of salt. 1, the neutral salt. 2, the acidic salt. 3, the basic salt. 4, the double salt. And 5, the complex salt. Preparation of salts. Salts are generally prepared based on 2 factors. 1, the solubility of the salt. 2, the stability of the salt to heat. Preparation of salt by solubility. Depending on the solubility of a salt, they can be prepared 1, by the reaction of a metal and a dilute acid. When a metal reacts with a dilute acid, the metal will displace the hydrogen ion in the dilute acid to give us a salt of the metal. A good example is the reaction between zinc metal and hydrochloric acid. When zinc reacts with hydrochloric acid, it will displace the hydrogen ion in the hydrochloric acid to give zinc 2 chloride plus hydrogen gas, which is given up. And that second way of preparing a soluble salt is the reaction between an acid and a base, which is called a neutralization reaction, in which you are having hydroxide ion from the base reacting with hydrogen ion from the acid to give you water molecule, and at the same time the negative ion of the acid combined with the positive ion of the base to give you a salt. A good example is the reaction between sodium hydroxide and hydrochloric acid. When sodium hydroxide reacts with hydrochloric acid, you discover that water is formed, and alongside sodium chloride is formed, and sodium chloride is a soluble salt. Another good example of a soluble salt is another way of preparing a soluble salt, is the reaction between a dilute acid and a triacylcarbonate. When a dilute acid reacts with a triacylcarbonate, it tends to liberate carbon dioxide from the triacylcarbonate and at the same time produce water, and a salt of a metal is formed. Generally, in as much as they are soluble, the salt can be recovered back from their solution either by heating the solution to dryness, heating the solution of the salt to dryness, or crystallizing the soluble salt out of the solution. The second method of preparing salt, which is the insoluble salt, is 1, by double decomposition reaction, In a double decomposition reaction, you are having two soluble salts being reacted together. When the two soluble salts react together, you find that one soluble salt is formed and another insoluble salt is formed as a precipitate. A good example is the reaction between silver triazonitrate 5 salt and sodium chloride salt. When these two salts react together, mind you, they are both soluble salt. When they react together, you find that a white precipitate of silver chloride is formed, which is an insoluble salt, and at the same time, sodium triazonitrate 5 salt is also formed. The second method of preparing an insoluble salt is by combination of the constituent element. A good example, iron 3 chloride salt can be prepared by reacting together iron and chlorine to give us iron 3 chloride salts. Uses of salt. Salt has various uses, and this includes one, for the production of chlorine gas. It's also used for production of fertilizer and laxative. A good example of your laxative is your Andrew liver salt. We use salt to produce laxative. Two, we use it for preservation of food. In the days of our father, even in these modern days, we find out that in the absence of refrigerator, you want to preserve your fish or your meat, all you need to do is, after removing the dirty from the fish, you add salt to it and sun dry it. The sun will inhibit the activities of microorganisms on that food. Number 3 method of usage of salt is as a drying agent. We use salt as a drying agent in the chemical industry. Also, lastly, we use salt as antifreeze. Take notes. With this, we have come to the end of the class. Today, we have talked about salt and the different types of salt that exist in nature, and the method which can be adopted in preparing salt. Till we meet in the next class, I want us to look at this assignment. On this note, I want to appreciate Kayode Precious. She is the only student that submitted the assignment for the last class, which has to do with type of salt. And I believe with the lecture of today, you'll be able to take correction. In that assignment, I give her 60%. Though it's nothing like white salt. Give us the name of the salt. When you are talking, like she was telling me about double salt and she mentioned white salt. Give me the name of the salt. There's not like double salt. With what we have done so far, I believe you should be able to take correction to that assignment. For the next class, this is the assignment, and I expected it to be submitted to my WhatsApp number, which still remains as 08034187864. Assignment number 1: what is hydrolysis of salt? 2: state 2 effects of water of crystallization in salts.